Self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. faithful patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, the animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. We may open up the phone lines a little bit. I'll get to that in a second. You want to leave a chat for me to respond to, go to liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com. Either way gets you there. Leave comments in the chat, and I will try and get to as many as possible. We got Orvillaby and Aaron over on the Twitch chat, so thank you as well. Over on, we got a bunch of the J Squad who came in early over on the YouTube. We got Josh, Jackie, and Jeff from just north of Uranus. Steve from across the pond.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
We've got Aaron over here as well. Let's see, Molly, a joy to see you. Did I say hello to Jackie? I think I might have did. TV2 Live. Thank you for joining as well. Roxanne. You don't have to put on the red line. One Vision. Who else? I'm a Big Hook from the Great White North. Good to see you. And Teresa. Good. Nice to see you as well, Teresa. Thank you for joining. I'm just trying to see who else. CR. Tim. Alton Gillespie. Thank you all for joining us and hopping on in early in the chat. And, you know, if you feel like you need to have to hop back and forth, that's fine. You can always leave both open, mute one, have the other open, right? So you can always watch one later as well if you want. You know, you don't have to watch everything live. So it's fine. I'm sure some people watch this after the show as well. Tim had said something. Let's say, left-wing media people, please take precautions. Retribution isn't just a buzzword, and irrationality is the way of life for a lot of the far right. We'll get into a lot of that in a second. In fact, we're probably going to spend most, if not all, of the show today talking about the Charlie Kirk thing. Several reasons. So yesterday, that's how my day went yesterday. My wife's doctor, basically, her neurologist, basically told her that if anything seems odd with her eyes, especially if her pupil goes off center just a little bit or whatever, to take her to the ER. So at about 3:45, Cassie comes to me and shows me her eye, and it was absolutely, I mean, it was a little bit. It wasn't like all the way on the side or whatever, but it was there. So I'm like, all right, well, let's go pick Henry up and my youngest from school, and then we'll go and bring you to the ER. And so we were there for a little bit, and nothing happened. She came home. The doctor who was there was the same doctor who wasn't going to admit her and actually was going to discharge her back in January. And I was like, oh geez. And I basically told her, I was like, look, if he tries to give you any crap, just say, I think I need to speak to somebody else, because if you didn't understand that I really needed to be admitted back in January, I don't trust your decisions today. But fortunately, he was seemingly going back and forth, either an email or whatever, with her neurologist, who was wanting like pictures of her eyes and scans taken of her eyes, and it wasn't bad enough or whatever. But I'm sitting there, and she's basically telling me, it's like, oh, well, the pupil is reacting to light. And I'm like, well, the doctor's advice was not if your pupil is off-centered and it also doesn't react to light, then come in. It was just if your pupil's off-centered, reacting to light was not made to be or to seem to be anything that was important to the decision as to whether or not we should bring her to the ER. But, so again, we brought her to the ER. I brought her home. Everything seems fine with her. But as I was at the ER, I started feeling a little bit of a crud coming on. And I'm like, maybe a little bit earlier yesterday as well, maybe I started feeling a little bit of a crud coming on as well. And usually when I feel a crud coming on, what I'll do is I'll start mega dosing vitamin C. My grandfather was a big proponent of the good one. Actually, the only one I actually claim as a grandfather at this point. The only grandfather that matters, at least. He was always a big proponent on the benefits of vitamin C. He'd always take vitamin C, at least 1,000 milligrams a day, yada yada yada. And so whenever I started feeling sick, I would absolutely start pumping vitamin C. And normally, if it's just a cold, it would be enough to knock it out. It did not knock it out, and this morning I'm still feeling blessed. So it took my youngest to school, and then I went to urgent care thinking, what if I have COVID? I don't know how I got it, but what if I have COVID? So I'm sitting there waiting. And I was like, all right, well, finally got tested. They shoved two swabs up my nose and one down my throat to check for COVID, flu, and strep. I have neither. I have none of them. None of those three are things that I have tested positive for, which is a positive, I suppose, as Trump would say. So it's just crud that I have. And so, I mean, if you hear a little clickiness, I have a lozenge in my mouth, and I do have cough medicine that I took a little earlier. And so I don't know if that's going to make me tired or not. I haven't really tried it. If that makes me tired, I might have to end the show earlier. If my voice starts getting hoarse, I might have to end the show earlier, which is why I basically was saying I may not go to the phones today, simply because of the fact that I might have to end the show earlier than normal. Speaking of watching shows, I do want to thank everybody. I was looking at my numbers as it pertains to hours watched, and my numbers of hours watched has absolutely gone up in the past month. It's increased significantly. So I want to thank all of you for that. Only thing I would ask maybe is just share more videos, like more videos, respond with more videos, because that's the only way we're going to get the algorithm up, which is the only way we're going to get more people watching the show, which is the only way we're going to get our subscriber numbers up. So if you can every day, like a video, share a video, comment on something, respond to some douchebag who is spreading bullshit in the comment sections or whatever. But yeah, so that's that. And I was up to I also was up to 2 o'clock in the morning last night because I was working on something for work. I wanted to make sure it got done for today. So, I also might be tired as well. So, anyway. Yeah, Steve, I heard texting my Trumpy right-wing pal here just so he knew if he hadn't heard. 30 seconds later, he was texting about the left dude. We don't even know anything. Slow your roll. Exactly. We'll be getting that as well. And there are a lot of things I wanted to talk about on today's show, but, Charlie Kirk had to go and ruin it, or I guess his murderer had to go and ruin it, simply because, there's the whole Russia launching drones into Poland. I mean, didn't Vice President Harris warn us about this, y'all? Didn't Vice President Harris tell us specifically Or say, what will all those Polish people who you're trying to pander to now, what will they feel if you let Russia just walk into Poland and start attacking Poland? This is the first time ever in the history of NATO, as far as I understand it, that NATO has had to defend a NATO country against Russia. And you sit there like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. And then you realize NATO was formed after World War II, so that's why it makes sense. So even then, Russia was helping with Germany and not attacking the rest of Europe. So yeah, it's been a hot minute, or at all, since NATO has actually had to be used to defend a NATO member nation in Europe against Russian aggression. But Donald Trump is going to have it all safe, and he's the peacemaker, right? He's the peacemaker that renamed the Department of Defense Department of War, who wants to call Pete Hegseth Secretary of War, not Secretary of Defense. Called into Jeff's show to ask him about it, and of course they did exactly what I thought they would do. They're going to start off, well, he is ending wars and doing this, out of the other. But isn't it good to take a strong stance and make yourself seem like you're strong and powerful? Well, you're not strong and powerful if Putin knows that he can steamroller right over anybody he wants, and you're not going to fucking do anything about it. So no, Trump looks weak as hell. And he's just putting on a superhero costume to try and make him look like he's stronger than he really is. But we will probably get into as things grow with the whole Russia situation, we will probably start talking about that, maybe Monday as well. One of the video that I reacted to the other day, about the YouTuber, or the TikTok video, we were responding to that one, and we were basically calling out their ridiculousness of criticizing Mamdani, the left eating their own, yada, lather, rinse, repeat. And I was trying to figure out, and I figured out too late. I mean, on their TikTok, if you look at it, it says they, them. I probably should have paid more attention to that particular part, but when I was responding here on YouTube, I wasn't thinking about that, and so I used she, her instead of they, them. So when I posted that video by itself, I basically was like, look, mea culpa, I apologize for getting the pronouns wrong. I'm sorry. I wasn't about to re-record the whole damn thing, but I did want to acknowledge the fact that I made a mistake on the pronoun usage, and so I did. That user also has a Rumble account. Who has Rumble accounts except for, people who are trying to troll people on Rumble, or, if you're a creator on Rumble, it automatically makes me suspicious of you that you're actually, being who a lot of the people suggest that you are, i.e. a tool of the right wing to go after the Democrats to help the Republicans win. Simple as that. But even if they're not specifically a tool of the Republican Party, a lot of these people are more than willing to try and get clicks and get popular and harass the left to try and get more views, or harass the liberals to get more views, knowing full well that it's going to help the Republicans win. And that makes them also problematic as well. I also wanted to talk about Vance and acre traders. What is acre traders? Well, we will go into that probably the next show as well. Basically, on the 30,000 foot view of it, it is a organization. Basically, they go and they buy up farmland. So all these farmers struggling in the Midwest, all these Trump supporting farmers who are struggling, who are not making any money, who are losing money because of Trump's tariffs, because basically China is a huge importer of American soybeans, and with Trump's tariffs, they're like, all right, we'll go to Brazil. It's fine. We don't need y'all. So American farmers are really getting hammered hard, but the vast majority of them voted for this. Fuck around, find out, right? But apparently JD Vance, there's no evidence that JD Vance, he was part of a firm. I think he may have stepped off from the board of the firm or whatever that was doing that, but there's no evidence that he divested from the investments that he had. So basically, he's investing in companies that scoop up bits of farmland and then kind of, I guess, resells it to higher bidders or whatever to try and make a profit off of these people's pain and suffering. But they're not going to want to see it. They're going to refuse to see it because it's being done under Trump, and to them, Trump can do no wrong as they starve and die. At least if they wither on the vine, so to speak, not necessarily starving and dying. Teresa, I found out my younger sister likes Rumble and is on that, and I'm like, OMG and WTF, sister. Yeah. If someone needs a little paintbrush across the head there, what are you thinking, dummy? Anyway, so all of those issues I would have liked to have talked about. There's another issue that I want to talk about as well. There is a new charter school that is opening or has been approved to open in Jefferson Parish. And in Louisiana, we use parishes and not counties. Jefferson Parish is the parish one over from New Orleans Parish. And they approved this new charter school. 30,000-foot view of this whole charter school deal is A, it is only for kids who have dyslexia, which is not cool, because under the legislation that basically protects individuals with IEPs and 504 plans, you're supposed to get free and appropriate public education, or FAPE. And it's supposed to be in what's called as the LRE, or the least restrictive environment. And that includes separating the students from the rest of their peers as little as possible, so that they have as much time to socialize with everybody else. People who might be neurotypical, et cetera, et cetera. So you're only supposed to pull them out of a classroom setting if it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, they're supposed to be in the same classroom with everybody else, every one of their peers, neurotypical or otherwise. But what else is interesting and, that people found out about this charter school? A, the charter school basically was had two other branches in other parts of Louisiana, and they're failing. But for some reason, Jefferson Parish bought their argument as to why it's okay that they're failing, because they're only taking in people who have some disabilities that require an IEP or a 504 plan. And as such, there's like, well, this is why our scores are lower, which is kind of like, hello, you're being horrible with that. And it's also the whole charter organization, I think, is, I don't know if it's owned by or run by. I have to do more research on this one. If we read the article, we would see it. Owned by or run by Bill Cassidy, the senator of Louisiana who's running for re-election next year. His wife runs it. No possible conflict of interest or whatever at all there, right? Right? Anyway, so that's a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about today, and that just got ruined because someone decided to go up and shoot old Charlie Kirk. So why do I say the things here? I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who have seen these things here, but I've been thinking for a while that I had not done a Just the Clip bit in forever. And I needed a good example of a Just the Clip. And while this isn't a new clip, it's still a clip. And basically, I mean, we are going to... normally what I do is I play the clip, and I'll say, okay, we don't need to do anything more because the clip speaks for itself. However, we are going to talk about this a lot today, so this will be the exception, I guess, that proves the rule, right? So before we go on to the entirety of this issue with Charlie Kirk and his being murdered, and some of the ridiculousness that has happened, including some conservative talk radio that has completely jumped the shark on this whole thing and are completely ridiculous, let's go ahead and let's open up these things as well so we can see me and everybody else or whatever. Let's play around with this a little bit more. There I am. There's the Venmo. And let's go ahead and play with volume. That might help. Our new installment of Just the Clip.
When a politician makes an outrageous quip, no commentary needed, it's just a clip.
Now we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
When a politician makes an outrageous quip, no commentary needed, it's just a clip.
So, yeah. It is worth it to old Charlie Kirk to have deaths, gun deaths every year, to protect his and everybody else's Second Amendment rights. And he said this after a school shooting. He said this after a freaking school shooting. So you'll forgive me if I'm not going to be one of those people mourning Charlie Kirk's death. I'm not going to sit here and tap dance on his grave so that his kids can see it or whatever. I will feel sorry for the children. However, I'm not going to sit here and, not look at the facts about what he has done and what he has said and not acknowledge the fact that he was a horrible person. Absolutely was a horrible person. To say that gun deaths are unfortunately worth it in order to keep the Second Amendment, well, I guess, everybody, all those people who are on the right, all those Republicans who are, crying their eyes out over the loss of Charlie Kirk. Oh, it's terrible, it's horrible, and making assumptions as to who did it. I mean, I'm surprised they're giving, if they're calling the person a leftist or liberal, I'm surprised they're giving them that much credit, because apparently the shot took place from, outside of 200 yards, and so it was a pretty accurate shot. But, Ali Osher goes, Charlie Kirk's political views were corrupt. I mean, they're corrupt, they're terrible, they're morally abhorrent. I mean, racist, bigoted. I mean, his last words were when he was asked about how many mass shootings there were in this country, and he's like, including or excluding gang violence. And then that's exactly when he got shot. Because Charlie Kirk was one of the largest, at least most popular race baiters on the face of the planet. He loved to try and put blame on black people when it mostly and typically never had anything to do with the color of the person's skin, when he was assigning blame to the people. I would say never. Now, for victimizing, yeah, I mean, sometimes the color of the person's skin is relevant, but yeah, he was a terrible, horrible, and evil person. So again, I'm not going to sit there and mourn his death anyway. I'm not going to pretend like it's some tragedy. What did they say? Chris Hayes, on All In with Chris Hayes at the 7 o'clock hour, called today heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking what happened to Charlie Kirk. Really? Was it really heartbreaking? Was your heart broken because of this, Chris Hayes? Was your heart really broken over what happened today? Are you mourning the loss of Charlie Kirk? Really? I mean, again, this is the guy who, after a school shooting, said that gun deaths are unfortunately worth it. Not just an unfortunate part of society where we have a Second Amendment, but worth it. I mean, I'd say he can go eat a bag of dicks, Charlie Kirk can, but he can't anymore. But yeah, worth it. So while I'm not going to be one of the people who's going to play the video, I'm not going to play the video of him getting shot. Not just because I'm concerned about what it might do, showing that video on my stream and whether or not it would have problematic strikes on it or whatever, but, I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to say things that might be harmful later to his kids if his kids hear it. Other than the truth of what his dad actually said, and if his kids find out that their dad was a douchebag, I mean, fine, but I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be bringing his family into it. I don't think his family has anything to do with it. I feel sorry for them. There are very, very well be people in his life that did love him, and, well, I'm sorry for their loss. Normally, Jewish people will say, may his memory be a blessing, but I can't imagine his memory being a blessing at all. So I'm not saying that. You'd think he would wear bullet resistance clothing with the almost constant gun worship. But these people think they're untouchable. My 8-year-old was like, because my 8-year-old knew what happened to Trump, my 8-year-old was like, well, why didn't he have it inside? He should have had the event inside and then he might not have been shot. Well, because they are egomaniacs. They want as many people as possible. They wanted to have it be a big spectacle. And of course, what he and like the other people who do this sort of prove me wrong type politics is, you know, I'm sure we weren't going to see all of the people who went up and asked the questions. We would only see the people who he deemed us worthy of seeing, which would be the liberals that he felt that he owned after the fact. Hey, Krista, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Yeah, Trump ordered all flags at half-mast until Sunday, effective immediately. But because of Charlie Kirk's death, not because of the school shooting today, but because of Charlie Kirk's death. Because Donald Trump couldn't care less about schools and kids dying at schools, but he absolutely will fly a flag at half-mast for somebody who pressed their lips against his orange sphincter and kissed away. But to make sure that we talk about this and we hear this, one dead in shooting at Evergreen High School in Colorado, unknown if the shooter or if it's the shooter or the two of the students that were shot. Shooting took place just before 12:30 p.m. at 29300 Buffalo Park Road in Evergreen, which is 28 miles southwest of Denver. Jackie Kelly, the public information officer for Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, told reporters they began receiving numerous calls about the shooting at about 12:24. Stated deputies were on the scene within 2 minutes, made contact with the shooter within 5. No law enforcement officers fired any weapons. First on the scene there at school, pretty much quick to find the suspect. So good that they found the suspect and that they didn't even have to draw their guns and they actually weren't too chicken shit to go, you know, deal with it, unlike the people in Uvalde. But these victims of this gun violence are getting, you know, they should have their stories heard as well. We should not just be talking about Charlie Kirk. Because unlike these kids, Charlie Kirk brought hatred, vitriol, racism, bigotry, transphobia, xenophobia with him everywhere he went. I'm not saying what he did, that all that made him deserve to have what happened to him. But what I'm saying is that hate begets hate. The more hate you put out into the world, the more hate you are going to receive in kind from the world. And I personally view that as it's probably like exponential growth. So if you put like a little bit of hate out there, you know, whatever, as most people do, you're probably not going to see that much of a difference. But if you put out a whole crap ton of hate, you're going to see even more back at you because you're louder, because you have the voice, you have a microphone, you have viewership, people recognize you. I mean, this guy not only went on his, you know, Turning Point USA crap and his tour. I guess some of his next stops are going to be canceled, right? Going across America, or whatever it was called with the tour. I mean, he even went on that stupid whatever podcast, that misogynistic bullshit to talk about his, you know, all of his bullshit that he talks about. He even went on that. Spreading his vitriol, spreading his hate, spreading his racism. I mean, they complain about how people on the left want to make everything about race, but it's reality, the right who really does it, because projection and hypocrisy are both conservative prerequisites. Chad and the 3 killed in Memphis, Tennessee today. And look, let's look that up, because was it today? As 2 days ago, 4 children struck by gunfire after mass suspects shoot at Memphis home, which is not like a school shooting. It's not like a public shooting. It's a shooting at a building. So that's why perhaps it's not getting the same airplay, the same airtime as these other 2 shootings might have done. But yes, we should be addressing gun violence in this country, the epidemic of gun violence. If guns don't kill people, then why is Charlie Kirk still why is he dead? Why isn't he still alive if it's not guns that kill people? Chad, when is debating considered hate? When the debating in and of itself is not considered hate, but when you reduce your arguments down to hateful points, that's when it becomes hate. When he makes it all about people who bring up black on black crime, because he was one of the people who would love to go to black on black crime. There's no really such thing as black on black crime, just as like there's no such thing as white on white crime. But if you want to label it that way, yes, you have a large portion of black victims whose the criminals who perpetuated the crimes against them are also black. Same thing with white people. Most of the crimes done towards white people are done by white people. Why? Because of the history of this country, redlining, Jim Crow laws, segregation, all that other fun stuff that we did as a country to be terrible and evil and horrible to human beings who lived in this country. You know, that put people at economic disadvantages, put black people at economic disadvantages, making them have to live in only certain neighborhoods, which meant that they were more likely to be living together and not in some sort of homogeneous type of, or heterogeneous, I guess, type of society where everybody just lived together in harmony. I would like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. Anyway, yeah. So, all of these things cause more black people to live next to black people and more white people live next to white people. Then, of course, you had the white people who created like whites-only communities and sundown towns and all that other stuff, where basically it was forcing black people out of their areas. And when they couldn't do that, they fled and created a whole new communities. The Great White Flight, so to speak. So yeah, when you bring it down to hateful conclusions, that's when debating becomes hate. Simple as that. Oh, Chad, I wasn't being serious. What I meant was, why not talk about all the deaths across the USA all the time? I mean, when they happen, we do. And I mean, you know, Kirk wanted to bring up, you know, the willful shooting of people, like at schools, with driving. Yes, people drive on the roads, and yes, people die in car accidents on the roads. But the intent is not there. The intent is not, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go run somebody over. The intent is, I want to go from point A to point B, and hopefully some drunk idiot doesn't smash into our lanes. Whereas with this, the intent here, with Charlie Kirk getting murdered, was somebody brought a gun to the rally and wanted to murder Charlie Kirk. And that it is. Yeah, I hate the fact that Kirk will now be held up as a MAGA martyr on the new Ashley. Terrorist Ken. I don't know if I should. Terrorist Beavis is more like it. No, Butthead. I'm sorry. He's more like Butthead, not Beavis. But yeah, they're making him into a martyr. But he wouldn't even want you to make him into a martyr because, again, he thinks it's worth it to die. And he also doesn't believe in empathy. Empathy is wrong to him. This is what he had to say about empathy.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that is...
I mean, all words are made up. So, I mean, every word in this sentence is made up.
It does a lot of damage, but it...
So it does a lot of damage too. Empathy does damage. It is harmful to have empathy for people. That's what Charlie Kirk believes to say. So Charlie Kirk would not want you to be empathetic for him or his family. Maybe sympathy was fine, I mean, the Rolling Stones said you have sympathy for the devil, right? Woo-hoo! Yeah, Big Hook. He went to lecture on college campuses and was a college dropout against higher education. Yeah. And he thought he was smarter and better than all the people that he debated. Although, again, much like Steven Crowder, I'm sure that they handpicked which videos to show and which videos not to show to make sure that you would, like, if I went up against, if I would have had the opportunity to go up against Charlie Kirk, because I won't have that opportunity anymore, at least for a very long time. Simply because of the fact that, you know, I think that I would have argued him out of, you know, argued him under the table, and then they would have never used my arguments because they wouldn't want to air their own host being owned by a lib, because normally what they want to do is own the libs. So anyway, so there's that. But this is also caused. Oh wait, what? Something else that Charlie Kirk talked about. If we're going to talk about how big of a scumbag Charlie Kirk was. Charlie Kirk says a patriot should bail out alleged Paul Pelosi attacker. The right-wing troll smirkingly alluded to a homophobic conspiracy theory about the home invasion. Early last Friday morning, Berkeley resident David DePape attacked Paul Pelosi at the San Francisco home he shares with Speaker Pelosi, unable to locate the latter, who was not on the property. DePepe or whatever was heard saying, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Police officers said that they arrived on the scene. They witnessed him beating Paul Pelosi with a hammer. Pelosi is now recovering after the emergency surgeries because he had a history of blogging about far-right ideas and even dabbled in the QAnon theories. GOP has scrambled to deny that this was an attempted assassination of a Democrat. Of course they do. They'll call this an assassination. They will call this a politically motivated killing, but they won't do that with this particular case and the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband while he was shouting, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Right? So yeah. Kirk hinted on Monday that DePepe, who he called a gay schizophrenic nudist, would confirm that version of events when given the opportunity if only someone bailed him out. Yada, yada, yada. So, of course, then Charlie Kirk said that he should be bailed out. Dumb. But, you know, again, Charlie Kirk was evil, snide, horrible person. Which is, again, why I cringe at Chris Hayes' use of the word, of the words as how he described the death. Devastating. So devastating. Suzanne, Charlie Kirk is a horrible person. You are incorrect. Charlie Kirk was a horrible person. He's now dead. Sorry. Tim Farrell, on a serious note, Chuck Norris admitted to using a stunt double today for the crying scenes. Fair enough. What was the context of what he was saying with what, Chad? I kind of missed that. Sometimes when chat goes by, it's sometimes hard for me to understand what you're responding to, so sometimes referring to what you're responding to in a sentence might be more helpful. But anyway, let's see. Empathy is important. Trump does not have it. Of course not. But anyway, so there's a show on the same channel, the channel that I used to be on when I was on Dan and Dave on the Air, Talk from the Left, that's right. And also that I call into with Jeffs or whatever, but excuse me, they have this show called Baldy and the Blonde, and I think we have played 1 or 2 clips from them already, but I have 4 kind of combinations of clips that I'm going to be playing, and because they changed, just like I had to change my show from the topics I want to talk about to, you know, this bullshit, they did as well. Of course, they brought even more bullshit along with them, right? So let's go ahead and listen to what the people had to say about Charlie Kirk and his being murdered.
We changed up today's show at the last minute because of the horrific events in Utah with the murder of Charlie Kirk, who was a tremendous young voice.
He was huge. Nobody was bigger, especially his gums.
We changed up today's show at the last minute because of the horrific events in Utah with the murder of Charlie Kirk, who was a tremendous young voice. and was extremely influential, especially among the youth. He was a founder of Turning Point USA, something like 10 or 11 years ago, and he changed the landscape. And he always spoke the truth. And because he always spoke the truth and he changed the landscape, that's why somebody killed him.
I mean, you have no idea why somebody killed him, because they may have somebody in custody, but as of me going on the air, they have not yet released why, who it was, etc. So every assumption that these people are making is just pure speculation. Let's continue.
That's why, exactly. And it's now being reported that the shooter is at large and shot from 200 yards away. So, goes along with my unsubstantiated theory, and it's just mine, based on nothing, but that it was a perfect.
I mean, based on nothing, yeah.
100 yards away. I think it was an assassination, or as Tom said, a public execution of.
Which, the public, one interesting theory that I've seen that I would not, I don't believe it's true, but it's one that Donald Trump had it done so that he could he was like, this is the only way I'm going to get people off of this Epstein crap. Which is not, because people are going to still want to see the Epstein crap because he made such a big deal out of it. But rather amusing. See, Marwan and HBT over on Twitch, political assassination does not silence one man. No, political assassination, if it really was an assassination, if it was somebody who was killing him because of a disagreement of ideas, and it could very well possibly be somebody who killed him over the fact that he felt that Kirk might have betrayed conservatism ideas. I don't know. Again, we don't know what's going on. But anyway, let's continue. Let's hear more of what she has to say.
One of the most influential conservative leaders in the United States and a potential future president of the United States.
Oh, God, that would have been terrible. Commander-in-Chief?
States.
Well,
The left never stops, okay? They never stop.
It was an absolute bullseye from.
The left never stops, because again, they're assuming that this was leftist. It may very well have been. Although I'm very surprised that the conservatives are giving somebody on the left that much kudos and that much credit for being able to have such great aim. But again, do we know what's known about the shooter at this point? Not much. At least not since I went on the air 45 minutes ago.
200 yards.
Bullseye, right into the jugular.
And again, we don't know the truth about any assassinations or assassination attempts going back decades, and we're not going to about this one, even though we have.
These people are very huge conspiracy theorists, so I mean, like, they're never going to believe anything that comes out of it, regardless.
They're also temporary players that come and go, and
Yep.
the establishment knows that.
They're just waiting for, they're biding their time, so to speak, Biden.
Yeah.
So,
Michelle, let me interject something, because
Yeah.
you said something right before the break that I wholeheartedly agree with. That this is a sad day in America, and for a while, it is 100% about Charlie Kirk and his family and his loved ones.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not even talking about the family and the loved ones, just simply because of the fact that they have nothing to do with the main reasons we're having these conversations. We're having these conversations because Charlie Kirk is somebody who begat hate, who brought hate with him everywhere he went. And you should, again, it's not a justification of him getting shot, but if you bring hate with you everywhere you go, don't be surprised if the hate comes right back at you too.
And it is 100% about them right now at the human level. However, as time goes by, it's a sad day for America because of what this represents from a different perspective, from a bigger perspective, that we cannot coexist with them, and they cannot coexist with us.
Do you hear that? They're saying that the right cannot coexist with the left, and the left cannot coexist with the right. They're the ones who are trying to say that the left are the ones who are violent. The left are the ones that bring violence, causes violence, etc., despite the fact that that's completely batshit crazy. And we all know that the death cult is the Republican Party, especially the MAGA wing of the Republican Party. But they're admitting that we can't live together. We're not going to buy the world a Coke and sing in harmony.
They cannot peacefully coexist with us.
They cannot.
And that's frightful.
So what do we do with that? What do we do about that?
Well, what you do is you get up every day and do the right thing.
Yep.
That's what you do.
That's what we've been doing, though. That's what
I
our
know.
side's been doing. Getting our butts
agree with
kicked,
that.
all right? Getting our asses kicked.
But that's what makes it so frightening, because at some point, it becomes the right thing to do something that you never really thought you would do.
That's right.
It becomes the right thing to do something that you never thought you would do. So now he's saying, and this is purely my reading between the lines, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, or you can attempt to correct me if you think I'm wrong. I mean, I've heard these clowns before as well, so I kind of know what they're talking about. But they're basically saying that at some point it's going to be necessary to murder us, to murder the left, to murder the people who are on the left. But they're saying we're the violent ones because hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. So is projection. They're planning already to murder each and every one of us and trying to come up with an excuse as to when it would be okay to do so. Let's go on to the next set of clips from this lovely show, Baldy and the Blonde. I think it's Baldy and Blonde on Twitter or whatever. Obviously, I'm not going to follow them on Rumble.
But come on.
Well, we could talk about peaceful divorce, you know.
I've talked about peaceful divorce on this show before. I've talked about, I would love to. Look, I'll probably say it once or twice more in this when going over their clip or whatever. But I've said this before. Give them the Midwest. Give them Idaho, Montana, Kansas, North Dakota, South Dakota, Arkansas, Texas. Let them have all the red areas, the South. I mean, don't take New Orleans. Let New Orleans be like a little island of United States of America. They can call this whole big land of theirs Dumbfuckistan. They can appoint, anoint, select, whatever, Donald Trump being despot, dictator, king for life. They can build their wall and keep all the libs out and be laughing behind their old big wall that they finally have owned the libs and have managed to separate themselves from all the leftists and libs and socialists and communists or whatever. And then they'll ban all vaccines, and then all their kids will die, and then in 20 years, the entire area will be barren because it won't be inhabited anymore because, they reject vaccines and how they work, right?
Well, we could talk about peaceful divorce, and that's really what we need.
Peaceful divorce. Just take a line down the middle of the country.
I don't believe in that, taking a line down the middle of the country, left and right. No. You don't get California. California's a blue state. You don't get any of the West Coast. Good luck getting to the Pacific Ocean. Maybe you do so via Alaska, but how do you get there as well? You have to fly there, I guess. Good luck getting to the Pacific. You're not getting New York neither. I know you could get the Atlantic through Georgia or South Carolina or North Carolina. Even though North Carolina does have a Democratic governor, even though they voted against Harris because they're fucking stupid. But yeah, no, you don't just get to split the country in half. I mean, there's a whole vast area of wide open spaces that, they could all move to. All those areas where they think land votes. Move to those counties. Plenty of land for you there, right? Go check those out. Create Dumbfuckistan.
To whatever side is the free side, and that would be the right.
Whatever side is the free side, and that would be the right. They believe that the right supports freedom, except for all of it's the other easy for me to say, except for all of the examples where the left embraces freedom and the right destroys freedom. Gay marriage, that's not. They want to ban that. That's not freedom if you ban gay marriage. Abortion, that's not freedom if you ban abortion. They want the freedom to persecute other people based on their religious beliefs. To them, that's freedom, regardless of how the persecuted people feel.
Yeah, they can. I've often said that they can draw a line either east and west or north and south, and they can take first pick on which side they want. We'll take the leftovers
And we'll do better.
and be done with them.
Be done with them.
And once you've chosen your side, you're not allowed to go to the other side.
You're not, because once they go broke and a bunch of whiny babies waiting for, whose feelings are hurt because they've divided their society into so many ridiculous victim classes that no one, they're just looking, they'll have no one to be.
Because the Republicans have basically the white people and everybody else, so there's no victim classes because they don't view people as being victims because they can't see victimhood. It requires empathy to see victimhood, and as Charlie Kirk says, he doesn't like empathy, neither do these fools neither.
They're just looking, they'll have no one to beat up on if we're not there.
Yeah, no one
to execute.
Yeah, right. Oh no, they will go after their own.
Oh, eventually, that's true. That is true.
Do.
First thing
Absolutely.
I mean, that is one of the things that they've said that's true finally, is that the left does like to eat their own. I've pointed that out several times already.
First thing Mao did was kill all of his close supporters when he got in.
And the first thing Hitler did is to take everybody who was a political appointment and shove them into concentration camps like Alligator Alcatraz or Alligator Dachau. You don't want to talk about that, right?
When he got in. So I forgot about Matthew on the line. Let's can we take his call now? Tom, is a good time.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting one. This call from Matthew was like, okay. Because I wasn't expecting to hear my name be brought up.
Go ahead. Hey, Matthew. Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, hello, Michelle.
Hey, Matthew.
Hello, Baldy. Tom.
Hey, Matthew.
So, it appears that they're done talking.
Yeah, seems that way.
We're done talking, or at least most of the people on the left are done talking. Have you seen the right people and what they say? I mean, these people want to keep saying that the left is violent. Is the left where all the militias come from? Did the left attack the Capitol and assault police officers? No. There's shit tons of violence coming from the right.
And I'm not all leftists, of course. I'm not talking about guys like Liberal Dan.
So I'm his exception that proves the rule, because I'm the person who can sit here and have a conversation with, which I guess, thank you, Matthew, from wherever you're calling from, either Houma or Metairie or whatever it is, because I think he works in Houma and lives in Metairie. That's a terrible commute every day, by the way. I would hate to live in frickin' Metairie and have to drive all the way to Houma every single day. That would be terrible. I mean, unless you have a really good bunch of podcasts you want to listen to on the drive, because that is a drive.
But there's a large portion of the left, which is conversations which is over.
Yep.
Well, I guess I can appreciate the fact that that he can still have a conversation with me. And actually, he's one. I mean, while he has some theories that I definitely don't agree with, he's probably the one that's most fair to me. But yes, Alyosha, yes, he did mention me, because he also calls into Jeff Careau's show a bunch, and I call into that show a bunch too. So we've never met, but we've cross-communicated via the show, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if they knew who I was. I mean, I did tweet at them while they were on the air. So at some point, they're probably going to see what I said and block me, because they're fucking ridiculous. But whatever. I think Baldy, the one that's called Baldy, is also the person who believes that testing causes cases. Like, I called in and said that Donald Trump is an idiot to Jeff's show, and said, hey, Donald Trump's an idiot because he said that if you have more testing, you have more cases. And this guy calls up afterwards and he's like, yeah, well, testing does cause cases. You can catch COVID via a COVID test. This is how dumb these people are.
And that's just a little bit scary.
It is.
Because they don't wear uniforms to say, I'm the...
I mean, I sometimes wear the Liberal Dan t-shirts, so, I mean, you can clearly see that I'm Liberal Dan, right? Especially with my FDT shirt. Need to dig that up. The kids have managed to lose it. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on to the third set of clips that we have here, talking about Charlie Kirk and all these people's insane theories as to what happened.
I sincerely hope you're correct, and it's all those people. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was some people who were fairly high up.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I think most of them are high up. I mean, I think that probably who knows who engineered this, but...
Who engineered this? So this went from being a lone gun shooter to being engineered by some cabal, right?
I mean, would I be shocked if it came from people who consider themselves rhinos? No.
People who consider themselves rhinos? No. Nobody considers themselves to be a rhino. The people would consider themselves to be Republicans, and y'all would call them, using the no true Scotsman's fallacy, would say that these people are actually rhinos because they can't be Republicans because they don't believe what we believe. No true Scotsman.
Not really.
No, I wouldn't be shocked by that.
Nope. So the way I'm talking about divorce is, I mean, people who are for liberty and people who are for controlling every.
Yeah, people who are for controlling are the GOP, the MAGA folks, the people who want to invade cities with the military and have, that type of rule. The people who voted for the guy that wanted to be dictator on day one. More on that in a second. Yeah, we're the controlling ones, though. We want people to be able to marry who they want to marry. We want people to be able to have sex with who they want to have sex with. We want people to, have control over their own bodies. But we're the authoritarians? No, y'all voted for the authoritarian in chief.
Everyone else. And that's how I see it. Because what we have now is, I mean, honestly, we just can't get away from just saying what this really is. And thank you for your call, Matthew. It's evil.
It's evil. It's evil. I mean, yes, murder is evil. But Charlie Kirk was also evil. And here's the last set of clips or whatever, because this one is the pièce de résistance. The one that basically proves almost everything that I've been saying about Republicans, that at the end of the day, not the host, the blonde, I think it's Michelle Godin is her name, the blonde actually says something that kind of shocked me at the end of this clip. But not until this Nazi person, that's not her name, I think her name sounds like it though, calls in, oh, it's impeccable living.
Oh my.
But anyway, so they had another caller. I've never heard this caller before to my recollection on WGSO. So I was kind of surprised. I was hoping it might have been a left-leaning caller, but let's listen to what she has to say, shall we?
Is a direct result of leftist violence, period. We have 3 calls. We'll start with Dotsie from Metairie.
Oh, Dotsie. Not Nazi, but Dotsie. A Nazi with a D.
Hey, I love your show. I was just planning on, listening to you like I normally do, because I agree with y'all, and I feel pleasantly happy. I'm absolutely horrified. I immediately contacted the White House and told him anything he has to do.
So she this is what I love about conservatives. Like, there's another guy who I've talked about on the show before, this guy called Cash Money. He complains because he reaches out to the president. Another guy that calls in from Augusta, Georgia, who will be like, I keep calling the administration and they won't call me back. They won't. Nobody's going to call you back. That's not how politics works. Unless you have an in already with the president, they're not going to be like, oh, okay. They might send you a auto pen signed card or whatever, but they don't give a crap about you. And even on the left, I thought I might have had an in to be able to meet Obama one time. And the person was a dick to me because he worked on Obama's campaign. And I was like, hey, we're going to be in D.C. Was there any way we can meet the president? You're not meeting the president. I'm like, well, thanks, asshole. You could have said it a little nicer. But still, yeah, I tell the president he should do anything he can. But again, these people claim to love, we love Donald Trump because he wants priests. But as soon as the shit hits the fan, go murder people. Go attack. Do anything and everything that you could do, not even within reason, that's possible.
Absolutely.
Full metal jacket.
Well,
Full metal jacket. I am done. I am.
Did you notice how this person's voice went from being like kind of sweet and like maybe like innocent sounding to like within 20 seconds full on like satanic almost?
Your show. I was just planning on, listening to you like.
I love your show. I was just planning on listening. I agree with y'all. Yada yada yada.
I'm absolutely horrified. I immediately contacted the White House and told him anything he has to do.
absolutely.
Full metal jacket.
Well,
Full metal jacket. I am done. I am done.
It's terrible, Dottie. I appreciate
I'm
your
so
emotion.
upset.
So upsetting. A fine young man, 2 children.
No, fine young man is questionable at best.
Young man, 2 children, went around the country, as Tom was saying, so respectful to his opponents.
So respectful to his. Have they ever watched any of his debate opponents? He is snide, and he's awful. He was awful.
That they would end up plenty times, kind of shaking his hand. He'd say, "You want a hat?" They'd be like, "Nah, thanks," But it was really, it was so productive, and that's why he was taken out.
So productive, yes, so productive. Him cherry picking which people he would actually share the interviews with and which ones would end up on the cutting room floor. So productive.
No matter what story they end up giving us, because we all know at this point that we never get the truth. He was executed.
This woman killed on the train?
Yes.
We're all that woman now.
Yes, we are.
We are all that woman, except for the fact that Donald Trump, rejects refugees, and apparently I think some of the Ukrainian ones that were here that he's sending back to him, Donald Trump was trying to make it seem like he would be able to solve this problem on, day one of, the Russia invasion. But nope, not able to do that. And of course, it's terrible that the woman in Charlotte, North Carolina, was murdered on the train. And now conservatives are being ridiculous about, well, why didn't anybody stand up? Would you? I mean, would you really risk it? I don't know how many people would really risk it. I don't know if I would risk it. I might have gotten up immediately and tried to help the person after he went off. I don't know if I would have, put my family at risk if I was on the train with my family. And if it's one person, I don't know if I would have risked getting stabbed. I can't say for certain. Maybe I would have. Really would depend on where my state of mind was at the time and how my knee was. Because right now I don't think I'd be able to do anything, even though my knee is much better. Still have a bum knee.
Yes, we are.
We're going to have BLM for a year if Trump does not. I said, President Trump, they call you a dictator. I voted for you. I want you to be a dictator.
I want you to be a dictator. Exactly. And I was just thinking about, at what point are these people going to basically say, okay, enough is enough? And the point is, there is no point where these people will ever say that enough is enough. Because to some people, they don't care. They will happily embrace him as a dictator if it means they get their way, and their way is white supremacy, bigotry, racism, patriarchal horribleness, etc. Yeah, Charlie Kirk died doing what he loved, advocating for more guns. And again, he died doing what he loved, and he said that deaths like these are necessary and worth it. Not just necessary, but deaths like these are worth it in order to be able to have a society where we have a Second Amendment. So according to Charlie Kirk's own words, his death was worth it. And that you should not have empathy for it because empathy is a made-up word. And it's harmful. Empathy causes harm. So don't have empathy for him or his kids or his wife or the rest of his family or his friends or his coworkers or anybody else. Don't have empathy for them because Charlie Kirk would not want you to have empathy for anybody either. And that's how he lived his life. He lived his life with no empathy. Don't have empathy for him in his death. It's as simple as that, right?
Thank you for your call, Dotsy. Call us again sometime.
Notice how they wanted to get her off the phone because she was saying the not so quiet part very loudly. But here's where Michelle Godin, the blonde, surprises me a little bit.
I appreciate your level of anger and being upset. I share that with you, but I don't want a dictator anyway, especially not Trump. Okay, but I like him, but no. Okay, no dictators. All right.
So she doesn't want a dictator, and she especially doesn't want Trump. That's interesting. That's an interesting thing to hear, that she actually doesn't want Trump as a dictator. I mean, she says no dictators, period, but especially not Trump. What's going on there? That's kind of weird, but at least good for her for saying that she doesn't want a dictator. But most MAGA folks, I'm guarantee you, if given this option of having a Democrat president win in 2028 or have dictator Donnie, they're going to say dictator Donnie. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Hey, VD Hertz, good to see you. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. The goddess Kimchi is also in the chat. Good to see you, goddess. All hail and worship the goddess in the manner in which she requests.
I appreciate your
Oh, we already heard that part. Anyway, so there you go. There's the baldy and the blonde conversations. Big Hook, do you want to call in for a little bit? I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, if you want to call in, I'll let you call in. Simply because of the fact that I might not be able to talk much because I feel like I'm starting to get the hoarseness on already. But if you do want to call in, I'll open up the phone lines for you just so you can. It's been a while since we've heard from our friend from the Great White North. But yes, 250 comb, walking it back. Ali Usher, what standards from MAGA pundits? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but again, a lot of these people have, A, they're weird, and B, they will turn on you like that. It's almost like the extreme leftists with the response video that we were doing in response to how this creator, they didn't like Mamdani actually talking to Jews and finding out why Jews don't like the term globalized intifada. As soon as these extremist crazies see that you've changed one little tiny smidge, they will turn their backs on you. Now, usually that applies to the peons and not the high-ups, so I'm frankly a little surprised that she would be like, I don't want a dictator, especially Donald Trump. But, oh, you got to hear the phone call. I forgot to turn it off, turn that part off. Hold on. Come on, answer the phone. Hey, Big Hook, what's going on?
I woke up a little over 2 hours ago to be confronted with the news that, Kirk was shot and whatnot. It's not surprising.
No.
My concern is, as I mentioned in the comments, is that MAGA will hold him up as their MLK, Martin Luther King, when in fact he shared absolutely none of the values of Martin Luther King. Kirk was really one of the worst because he went and he took the Bible and totally took everything out of context and was like, oh, women should submit to their men and become brood mares and all the rest of it. I mean, the only good thing that may come out of this is that it will discourage other people from making other conservative hate mongers and conspiracy threaders to make public appearances. I think that's the only good that may come of it. But outside of that, I'm more concerned about the shooting in Colorado than I am about Charlie Kirk as far as I'm concerned.
Right. As a general thing, the victims in Colorado should get more of the focus than Charlie Kirk. That being said, because he's such a big name, obviously the media is going to go with it. It's probably one of the reasons why I'm critical of the media all the time is simply because of the fact that they are going to go and they are going to go with the if it bleeds it leads or with the more popular or more well-known name than the other ones. It's also why the media sucks when it came to like missing, like a while back, when you had all these examples of like the missing girls cases or whatever. Like it would be like was it Natalie Holloway or whatever? Like the pretty white girls would get all the news coverage. Meanwhile, a black girl disappears and you don't hear shit because whatever.
That's the other thing, and not to mention the fact that it also shows the complicity of MSM to basically try to cater to a conservative audience because they know that this will bring viewers, because they are going to look for people who will justify what they feel in their hearts, which is white supremacy, misogynist views of women and everything else, and how they are somehow smarter than the highest educated people in the country with PhDs and science and whatnot. I mean, the level to which the U.S. has basically downgraded itself is ridiculous. I mean, you got RFK running HHS and canceling grants on medicines and research that are, you know, life-saving and are critical to the public health and safety of the U.S. I mean, here's the other thing. That if you join the Army, you are required to get all those shots, and you don't get a choice. When you sign the papers, you basically, you get your huge cycle of shots. You know, now RFK is going to put that into question now. You know, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, there's rules that need to be followed for the safety of everyone, and
hold
in
on.
general,
I need to interrupt you a second, because we got Stephen Friedall in the chat who says no empathy here. Too woke. A misspelled too wrong. Use the wrong two. TOO would be the correct one to use. Sorry for being grammar Nazi, but also remember, Stephen Friedall, that Charlie Kirk said that empathy is not good. Empathy is harmful. So Charlie Kirk would not want you to have empathy for him or his family or his loved ones or whatever. He would not want you to have empathy at all. Just saying. Go ahead, Big Hook.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the problem with the conservative mindset. It's a Darwinist survival of the fittest culture, where they believe that kindness and all those things are, you know, not necessary, and that we can operate as savages, and and go back to the caveman days of whoever carries the biggest stick and can break the most heads becomes the leader, and the one that basically is allowed to procreate with all the females. I mean, this is where we're going, especially with Trump. I mean, he's completely lost it. I mean, he doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever these days. I mean, you look at him, and for all the critics of Biden made fucking sense. Trump makes zero sense. He's just basically reading off a teleprompter what Stephen Miller and Russell Vought have told him to say, and they're basically all the ones behind Leonard Leo and the Federalist and the Heritage Societies and whatnot. And I mean, now you look at your SCOTUS, and it's a complete fucking joke. I mean, they can't even justify why they made their opinion. That's why they did it in the shadow docket. And, I mean, you look at, what's his name, Kavanaugh. I mean, he's an alleged rapist who supports a convicted rapist who is, supported by like-minded Republican politicians who think that this is just the way they operate, which is with zero empathy, morals, or values. It's, I'm wondering if the only answer may be that the United States divides and, let the red states live the way they want to, and the blue states live the way they want to, and have separate governing structures as well as whatever, and let it go. Because I think I don't think you're going to ever be able to work with these people. They have completely lost the thread of how things are done, or, whatnot. and they've turned their back and rejected all of the developments of the last 200 years that have increased their mortality rate to where they live to be 70, 80, sometimes 90 to 100. And they want to turn their back on all that and believe the nutcases out there. I say let them. It'll be, the Darwin Awards, They will essentially basically remove themselves from the gene pool. I mean, we're seeing that already. All those stupid Arkansas farmers who voted for Trump, and now they're like, oh, we're praying to God that Trump will come and bail us out. Are you fucking kidding me? That con artist is not going to bail them out one bit. He is
especially with JD Vance, especially if JD Vance has investment holdings in companies that are going to buy up all those farms that are failing.
Well, exactly, and that's just it. This has all been an orchestrated coup of everything, so that way everything will be possessed by the billionaires, and we will just basically be indentured slaves to these people, And, Ojeda is right. It's time to eat the rich. They are so far out of control and have no interest in helping the general common working man. They want to make university and higher education too expensive to be able to obtain anything. They want to shut down the Department of Education. I mean, that just tells you everything. They're not hiding who they are and what they stand for and whatnot. It's I don't know what to say, because you guys you're in a powder keg, and you've got somebody like Trump who is basically throwing matches at the powder keg, waiting for it to all explode. And then on top of that, he will use that as an excuse to go in and use the military and declare martial law and start killing off all people that are against him, and declare, oh, well, they were threats to the state or to me. I mean, you guys are in a very, very dangerous spot right now, and I'm almost convinced that the Charlie Kirk shooting is a false flag to try and start, the Civil War, because you got enough MAGA nutcases out there who will be looking for retribution, and they're looking for any excuse to do it.
Well, yeah, like, what if I was thinking earlier today is like, what if I went on like Alex Jones and been like, oh, Charlie Kirk really isn't dead. He's just it was just a paid actor, a crisis actor or whatever it is he called the school shooting victims or whatever. Just to pull that BS, and then all of a sudden one day Charlie Kirk comes out as, oh, he was really fine. We were just using him as an example of to try and stoke up the anger of the right, to try and get them to do what we want them to do, and then Trump can pardon them all. But then again, it's also maybe more likely that maybe just Trump was like, I don't want anybody talking about Epstein. Let's off this guy. We really don't need him, and then we'll hopefully get the people to not talk about Epstein, which frankly, nobody today that I've heard on the news has mentioned Epstein one bit. So maybe Donald Trump is like, thank goodness.
Well, this is the problem, though. You guys live in a culture where, conspiracy theories are abound everywhere. You had the Q conspiracy where they went out and they did this stuff. And what was their number one charge? Oh, Hillary Clinton is drinking adrenochrome from the blood of children. I mean, and this was supposedly the whole pedophile conspiracy that brought this all about. And here you are supporting a guy that hangs around with other pedophiles, the most prolific pedophile of all, and is going to free Maxine Giswell and treat her like a queen and give her whatever she wants. I mean, you had that Todd Blanche interview, which was just complete horse shit. I mean, he totally sidestepped so many opportunities to ask important questions. I mean, when she said, oh, well, some of them are in your cabinet members that hung out with Epstein, and he completely sidestepped that and then went and said, oh, when was the last time you saw Epstein getting a massage? And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, like, my concern is that if Democrats do get power and they do not hold all these people accountable, and that includes all the Republican politicians who are on the take from all these billionaires and everything else, and who have engaged in insider trading as well as everything else, you know, that, and if they want to, and if they propose that, you know, business return to normal, where the Democrats propose really good legislation and the Republicans say no, and we're going to make it a filibuster and shoot it down. You know, I mean, America is stuck. It's stuck to the worst part of where it could possibly be. I mean, the rest of the world is looking at you and shaking their heads going, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? You have all the resources, you have all the means to be able to fix your problems, and you just keep shoveling money to the billionaires who don't need it at all.
Well, to the billionaires, it's a feature, not a bug. And unfortunately, what I'm concerned that will happen is that if we do what, you know, what the party wants us, you know, what a lot of the entrenched people want us to do is and also like your Bill Maher's of the world and the other folks who are
don't
like,
get me started on him. He interviewed
he jumped
Kirk.
the shark. Yeah, he's jumped the shark a long time ago. But like those are the people that are like, we need to stop being woke and we need to move back towards the center. Moving towards the center didn't win us anything. We need to move more to the left. And my concern is that, and the problem with the leftists, though, is that when I say that we need to move to the left, we need to move every seat possible as left as possible, which sometimes means we need to support centrists in swing districts to make sure that they can win, and then replace the entrenched old coots in the safe blue seats with your people like Mamdani, like other folks who will bring younger, fresher, more progressive ideas and get a larger, younger base involved. Because if we don't do that when we run towards the center, my issue is that if we do end up winning that way, which is unlikely unless you put a white man up there, because, you know, sexism and racism is what lost it for Kamala Harris. Sorry. And you're going to end up with another Merrick Garland who's going to sit on his hands and do jack shit for 3 years. And then you don't see any justice because they sat on their hands and didn't do shit for 3 years, which is why I appreciate Joe Biden and the other Democratic presidents' view on the role of the president and the Justice Department, and them wanting to have there to be a separation there so that the Justice Department can act independently and without guidance from the Oval Office. Maybe Biden should have exerted a little bit of will on Garland and be like, you know what, I want you to be independent, but you really need to pick up the pace here on this Trump thing to make sure that we get it dealt with so that we can actually get a guilty verdict and punishment done before he actually starts running. So,
well, that was the biggest fuck up of all. I mean, that alone was, the straw that broke the camel's back, because he had everything. Sorry, I'm congested for some reason or another. he had all the blocks in place. He had Eileen Cannon. And
Yep.
don't tell me that it was just coincidence that she caught all the cases where Trump could be possibly found guilty and then declined prosecution.
Right. Well, I mean, if it's not, if it's, I mean, it's stupid luck. I mean, it's a 1 out of 9 shot that would have happened because there were 3 judges who could have gotten picked in that area, and the fact that they got, no, I'm sorry, 3 judges. So you got 1 out of 3 on the hearing, and then you got 1 out of 3 on the trial. The fact you got her both is, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not like it's like 1 in a million or whatever. But still,
yeah, but she should have recused herself for conflict of interest right off the bat, because you can't say, oh, I'm going to oversee the trial of somebody who appointed me to my position of power, expecting me to be nonpartisan. I mean, come on. That is just fucking horse shit to the highest level. I mean, that is just disgusting to the level of, I mean, this is the thing. You guys don't have law and order. What you have is partisan politics where the rich get away with everything and the poor pay the price, and the poor continue to pay the price because the billionaires don't want to fucking pay their taxes. And, I mean, you guys don't have anything now. The Supreme Court is gone. The Republicans are holding on by a razor margin and haven't done anything. I mean, literally, their highest accomplishment to date was passing that bullshit bill and naming post offices.
Right.
And nominating the worst possible people into cabinet positions who are dismantling the government as we speak. I mean,
I didn't think you could get any worse than Betsy DeVos, and then Linda McMahon's like, hold my beer. At least Betsy DeVos, despite being corrupt and having extreme conflicts of interest, at least she understood at least some of the industry, even though she might have she didn't graduate high school or college or something. But then you get Linda McMahon, who, only thing she knows about is professional wrestling, because she lied about her education background when she got either elected or appointed to some education board in Connecticut, because that's where WWE is headquartered. And it's absurd. I mean, somebody who
they all lie.
Yeah,
that's the problem. They all lie. They all lie about their military service. They lie about their education. They lie about I mean, how the hell did Hegseth get in after all that said and done with a letter from his own fucking mother saying he's a horrible person and that he should not be in the position that he's in? And the fact of the matter is, and Fox will take him back in a heartbeat, because he's the cream of the crap when it comes to, these people, Right. And they will give him a hero's welcome when he comes back after this is all said and done, and this is the problem, none of these people are held accountable. None of them, and the fourth branch of, of accountability, the MSM, has completely dropped the ball. They are not reporting the stuff about them. And it's been, billionaire after billionaire buying up all the local newspapers and doing the hedge fund thing where they dump all the debt on them, and eventually they all end up closing. And as a result, there's no reporters. And as a result, all the local politics isn't covered, so that way people know what the hell is going on in their lives and who's pulling the strings and where all the money is going. You guys have lost.
The thing, though, is that you have the conservatives will do that. They use the billionaires that do the hedge fund thing. They buy up all the media, but then they claim that Soros is doing it and try and make it look like, oh, it's what the left is doing. since every conservative accusation is a confession. And of course, when it comes to Soros, when you hear Soros, you understand that we all know that when they say Soros, they mean the Jews.
Well, this is just it. I mean, I don't know where to go with any more of this, because you guys hit rock bottom, and you're drilling down even further. I mean, it's chaos everywhere you look. None of these people know anything about anything. I mean, they're going to try and get rid of the only legitimate conservative people out there, the Fed Powell, as well as the Fed chair lady there as well, who knows what's what, and are PhDs in economics, and they're going to let Trump,
Right.
who has bankrupted more companies and has held more debt than any person literally in America, to run the show.
Now, I will point out. I will point out that it is my opinion that when we criticize, one of the mistakes that we made, or a lot of people made on the left when talking about Trump's bankruptcies, is that they've tried to make it seem like he's inept as a business person, which he still may very well be inept as a business person, but his bankruptcies were less ineptness in business, in my opinion, and more corruption as a business person, i.e. using bankruptcy loopholes to get out of paying debts so that he can enrich himself and not pay the people who did the work to help him get his, to help him grow that wealth.
Well, but not only that, but then the fact that, what was it? He goes after people with as their primary residence mortgage thing, and then it turns out that the Republicans are guilty of it within his own cabinet. And then on top of that, the guy that went after them for that, guess what? His parents did the same thing. So, if you're going to convict them, you need to convict your own parents. I forget what his name is, Polton or whatever. I mean, these guys are the worst. They are, And they say, oh, well, you're not smart because you don't use the loopholes that we do. And then when you do, guess what happens? Oh, you're a criminal. You're doing just like us. I'm like, what the fuck is this all about now? The Democrats basically do it for survival.
Right.
And the Republicans do it just because, they're criminals. And then we get accused of the same thing.
Right.
We're just barely holding on by the skin of our fingers, or our teeth. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This both sides bullshit doesn't wash, and it's never passed mustard ever. And this bipartisan dream bullshit doesn't work, because what was it? Before Obama went and then he said, oh, I'm going to do ACA. And the Republicans said, oh, well, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this and you need to do that. And he went and he basically sliced and diced it up and whatnot. And in the end, not one of them fucking voted for it.
Right.
You're negotiating with serial killers. It does not work out. You always end up dead in the end. I don't know how much farther this can go. You guys are teetering on the edge right now. And I can't, Charlie Kirk is going to become a footnote of how stupid America has come and how low your standards have gone, because he was allowed to do this stuff, and all in the name of free speech, white supremacist beliefs and LGBTQ hatred. I mean, this is where you've gone. You either support the freedoms of everybody or you support the freedoms of nobody. And that's
Right.
what it's basically come down to. You guys have really, really hit rock bottom. You really have, And I don't know if you can turn it around. I think the only solution may be that you do a secession and you separate, Maybe that's what will end up happening. The whole West Coast, as well as all the northern states, will eventually become a different country, and tell the Republicans, well, you believe so highly in what you believe in, you guys do it.
Right.
You're the running experiment. I mean, and we saw how well it worked out in Kansas, right? I mean, he fucking bankrupted the whole fucking state.
Yep.
So let him do it. Let him do it. Enough of this bullshit. You guys,
Wait, hold
there's
on.
no negotiating anymore.
250 kilo ohm wants to know over on Twitch. Is Canadian politics boring by comparison to American politics?
Yes, it is. You know why? Because we have multiple parties, and guess what? We get stuff done. We don't blockade everything up the wazoo. We come to, negotiations as well as, agreements on what is possible and what isn't. And we keep moving forward as a nation, whereas you guys just keep moving backwards. I mean, everything in your nation is about helping the billionaires now. It's not about helping people, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, that screw up already with the Hyundai plant with Trump.
Right.
What's it going to cost now? It's going to cost them billions of dollars. And then on top of that, if Hyundai completely pulls out, which I would advise them to do, and start pulling out all the rest of their Korean subsidiaries within the U.S. and transfer it. What would be the ultimate insult?
No more Kia?
Would be to ship it all.
Makes me happy. I'm sorry.
You know what would be the ultimate slap in the face to Trump? Would be to move it all down to Mexico.
Yep.
And say, yep, we gave you a fig leaf, we played along, and now you slapped us in the face and gave us a kick in the ass and then called us criminals when we went along with your bullshit, bullying. And here's the end result. We're going to send our business to Mexico. We're not going to do it. We're not going to put up with your bullshit politics and your backing out on deals written in paper and whatnot. I mean, Japan is going to do the same thing now.
Right.
I mean, Japan, the old handshake was with the other prime minister. It's not with the one that's currently in power. And guess what? They're not going to do it. They're not going to bow to this.
Let's compare a whole bunch of stuff that might seem to be unrelated, and to show you why Trump is just ruining or trying to ruin the economy. And just because basically it comes down to trust, and why the hell would anybody trust us at this point? Why would anybody have any sort of trust for anybody at this point? Starting off with Ukraine. Ukraine gave up their nukes when they separated from the USSR, and under the agreement that if Russia ever got froggy, that we would have their back. Well, Russia got froggy, and now Trump and the Republicans are trying to renege on that particular agreement. So why would anybody trust us to do the right thing and give up their nukes or do whatever if we said, we'll have your back, because nobody has any reason right now to believe that we will have their back, that we would have their back. Why will, at some point, when I first talked about the cruise ship employee thing with the Filipino cruise ship employees at Norfolk, Virginia, it was 18 cruise ship employees that got deported and banned from the United States with no due process, no cause, just an accusation of bad behavior, but no proof of it. Now it's up to 28 at this point. It might even be higher at this point. How many cruise ship workers have to be detained, deported, and like that before the cruise ship companies have a problem finding new people? If they're trying to get people like foreign companies like Hyundai and Kia and Toyota and other type of companies to open up plants here, they're going to want to be able to train those people to be able to do the job that they need to do. So you spend a whole bunch of money, and then what does the U.S. government do?
Yeah.
They go ahead and they raid it. They make people run for their own safety because they're terrified of ICE. They do all this stuff. Why would anybody believe that they should come bring their businesses and manufacture? Why should Apple now, who initially agreed, I guess, to come build some parts here in the United States, why on earth would they do that now if they look at what the Trump administration did to Hyundai? It doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, I was going to make a smaller video on this as well, or short video on this as well, but I'll make the same point here as well, now that I remember to do it. The Trump, one of the things, and I posted this on Facebook earlier, on Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook. If you have a situation where, let's say there's two companies that are producing a good that want to be sold within the United States, and let's say both of those companies sold their widgets or whatever for $1 a piece. Now, let's say one of those companies operates outside the country. Trump gives an arbitrary tariff to people from the country that they're from. Now you have to pay $1.50 per widget for this particular people. So now they have to charge $100. Now, let's say they want to still continue to try and do business. They're going to start selling their good for $1.50 instead of $1.25. Why wouldn't then the domestic company here in the United States say, oh, well, if they have to charge $1.50 for the product, I'm going to charge $1.25. I'm going to make 25% more profit because Donald Trump is putting a 50% tariff on those other people. So therefore, I'm going to make more money, which is going to contribute to the inflation, even though it's a company that's not being tariffed because they're taking advantage of the fact that their competitors now have to pay a higher price.
Well, we saw that already within the food stuff. I mean, they reduced the sizes and charged the same prices. I mean, they thought consumers weren't smart enough to catch on to the fact that they were doing that stuff, I mean,
that's shrinkflation. Well, that's shrinkflation. But the other point is but that's all people doing it based on, the increased prices, even on domestic goods. What I'm talking about is the people doing it, looking at their competitors and saying, oh, those people are paying tariffs and we don't have to pay the tariff. So therefore we can be justified by raising our prices by a little bit so that we can make more profit off the backs of the American consumers, taking advantage of the fact that we know they're not going to buy from the competitor because the competitor would have to sell at a $1.50 price point instead of the dollar price point that they previously were selling it at, which means that Trump's tariffs not just increase the prices of what is sold that is imported, but it will also increase the prices of domestically produced goods for those producers that know that they can get away with increasing the price, especially if the prices become more inelastic because of the tariffs and making it the inability of those external companies to come in and sell their cheaper products here. So that's I'm
afraid of right now.
Well, I know hold on a second. I never hear anybody on the mainstream legacy type media channels talking about that. What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid that what's going to happen next is that ICE is going to start going to the hospitals now and start deporting all the Filipino nurses. That's what I'm afraid of right now.
I mean, I was confused as to why Filipino was something that they needed to take. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden Filipinos became the target du jour, and because it was originally just they were worried about the Hispanic folks, but I guess you could make a Filipino.
Many Filipinos appear.
Well, that was my point.
Brown.
Like they don't understand the differences. They don't understand the difference between like Japanese and Korean. They don't understand the difference between Chinese, or the difference between the different Asians or whatever.
Exactly.
And so they will probably look at a Filipino person and be like, oh, that person must be another Mexican, and then go from there. But one of the articles that I read about the Filipinos and the cruise ship, but the more recent ones, was the reason that they took the actions that they did was because they wanted to get their numbers up, the deportation numbers up. They were under pressure to get those numbers up, so they targeted people who were innocent, who were here legally, who were not violating any of our laws, but yet they went after them anyway because they're a bunch of racist pieces of shits in this administration. So,
well, same thing with the Hyundai plant. I mean, that was just basically, and they said, oh, it's the largest ICE deportation in the history of ICE being around. And, you know, like, you just knew this was going to happen. I mean, because it's all a shit show. You know, it's all to appease the maggots who were like, oh, yes, they're deporting all these brown people and Asian people and whatnot because I feel threatened every time I don't hear mangled English coming out of somebody in front of me. You know, I mean, the stupidity is off the charts in terms of what these people believe and whatnot. You know, I mean, I don't know what to say. America is not, you know, the land of the free anymore. It's the land of the bigots. It's really gone downhill to the point where, you know, it's just a rotting piece of what used to be a flowery democracy. I mean, there comes a point where you have to cut your losses. And I think the rest of the world has decided it's time to cut our losses. The U.S. is no longer a good place to look to, you know. And, you know, eventually at some point, you know what Trump's going to do, you know, if he stays around or whatever. They'll say, oh, well, we're no longer going to be the safeguard of business around the world. We aren't going to have our ships out there, our naval ships out there enforcing the rules of the high sea, which allows all the products to, you know, go round the world safely, you know, and stop the Somali pirates and all the other things and whatnot, or, you know, Yemen rebels bombing ships and whatnot. I mean, everything will come to a catastrophic close, and basically it'll be the birth of authoritarian dictatorships with, you know, bargains amongst them to for safe passage or whatnot, you know, and it'll be a mass genocide around the world of everybody who doesn't bow to the king is gone, you know, and that's a real concern. This is the thing. It always starts with this sort of stuff. You know, everyone thought, oh, Hitler, no, just ignore him. He'll go away. Oh, we'll give him a little bit of power and he'll be happy with that. No, it never ends there.
Appeasement.
History has shown.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I refer to Donald Trump as as our Neville Chamberlain, because, you know, even though, you know, there are definitely comparisons to be made on how Trump came to power versus how Hitler came to power, Donald Trump feels like he can appease people like Putin and it'll work. And history has shown that it doesn't work, but you need somebody who's literate in history to be able to understand why it doesn't work. Sometimes you have to take a strong hand against strong arms.
Well, this is why Trump wants to rewrite history now. This is why the conservatives want to rewrite history in the state schools and say, oh, the state dictates what history is told and what point of view is told as opposed to the reality. You know, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I shake my head and I think to myself, I probably got another, maybe 25 years left on this planet if I'm lucky. You know, what is coming down the road, and do I really want to stick around to see what it's going to become? I really worry. That's my point of view. And for those wondering, I'm 58.
Oh, and I'm sitting down, I sit here and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with all the struggles that I've had, financially recently, between still not having sold my mother-in-law's house and still having to pay that note on it, and also, all the other crap, all the medical bills, whatever. If we had to get up and flee New Orleans, I don't know how that would ever happen. If we ever had to flee Louisiana because of, some stupidity of, let's split the country up, and, in a way that made New Orleans be in the new Confederacy, then, because whenever they say "Make America Great Again," I'm 100% convinced that it's "Make the Confederate States of America great again," or whatever. But
well, it's funny because Andrea from the mod from the Stephanie Miller chat, as well as Howell's chat.
Yeah.
She said something this morning when I commented on stuff, and I said, I don't know how the hell you guys live down there in the States anymore with everything just falling apart and whatnot. And she said, oh, her sister is moving to Canada, and they packed up and they're already leaving, and they're taking her mother with them.
Wow.
If you have the means, I guess.
My biggest issue with that is simply that, like, my wife has psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, and she does not do well in cold. I mean, I guess you have had balmy weather recently up there, and maybe British Columbia is a better option than some of the other Canadian areas. But how cold do you get up there in that area?
But that's the thing. We only get, the most we usually get here is it gets down to, within Vancouver, it gets down to about 5 or 6 degrees in the wintertime, because what we get is we get the rain, which basically has a warming effect here. So even at the worst, we get very mild, and occasionally, yes, it'll dip down to whatever, but it only usually lasts for maybe a week. And then it goes back, and then the rain returns, and everything is all washed away, and we go back to living our regular life here in Vancouver. We get a really moderate climate up here. This is what attracted me, because, I mean, we don't get the super duper hot summers,
right?
And we also don't get the intense winters. Like if you go to Edmonton, they get 40 degrees sometimes in the summertime, and then they get minus 40 in the winter. So, I mean, you've got an 80-degree fucking swing, which is why I will never move there, although my daughter wants me to move there. But I'm like, yeah, not going to happen.
Right.
But, I mean, Canada has its problems as well. I mean, we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We have our bigots and our racists as well, and we have Alberta right now is threatening to leave or whatever, but, the fact of the matter is it'll never happen because, the natives basically own all of the land out there legitimately in the Supreme Court's eyes, so it'll never happen. So They're making a lot of noise, but it'll never happen, I mean, they lived in a fantasy because at one point in time, with all the oil revenue that they had no provincial sales tax. And they said, oh, just come here and live here and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? There were people who made money and did very well for themselves. But,
everybody else.
It's, but it is what it is.
Oh, that's Trump's line. Let's let
him say what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Anyway, any last bits? I'm probably going to end soon because my voice is starting to get whatever. I do have to apparently have to sing.
No worries. I really, the shooting of Kirk should not be given the brevity that it has. The Baggots are basically going to cry no matter what. They will claim that they are being undermined and that they're victims of us not understanding them and their whiteness. And it's like, that's a bullshit excuse.
Right.
You've been a racist.
As somebody who passes as white, even though I'm Jewish and the Klan still want to kill me regardless, I understand the whiteness. I just don't have to agree with it. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You know what? The way I look at it is, we have Democrats or liberals have evolved. We are constantly growing. And
Right.
it's literally like the conservatives have hit a growth spurt and then it completely stopped. And at that point, whatever was told to them anecdotally will be how they live their lives the rest of their lives, rather than looking at all the things that are happening around you and embracing new philosophies as well as new means to survive. You know, whether it be solar and wind rather than oil and gas. You know, I mean, it's stupid. I mean, Trump shut down that wind project, which is 90% completed. So what's going to happen?
Mm.
You know, like, this stuff is beyond stupid. I don't know. It irks me as well that, you know, there is so much infighting amongst the Democrats, which, you know, you got Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries who can't openly say, "Oh, we support Mamdani."
Right.
And it's like, you're in the leadership, and
They
you
should
can't.
absolutely be endorsing they're the ones who need to be endorsing Mamdani. You can't let Sliwa or Adams or Cuomo win that spot. I mean, it's the three main ones are just terrible, and I hesitate to even call Sliwa a main one, except for the fact that he has some name recognition and notoriety for his ridiculousness. So,
well, the question I have, and it's a really big worry of mine, is the U.S. a lost cause at this point? And maybe the only answer is going to be to separate the North and the South and let them live their Darwinist survival of the fittest lifestyle, while we live a modern, westernized, we support and believe in human dignity, empathy, and, everyone getting what they need. I think.
and then what's going to happen is that they'll be confused because they won't understand why their new nation is not doing well, because they'll be like, I thought they said go woke, go broke, and then they end up going broke and needing again to have us bail them out. Which at that point we should be like, nope, sorry.
Well, as the old saying goes, you can't fix stupid.
Nope, you cannot, and I think that's a good part to end it at. So thank you very much, Big Hook, for calling. Appreciate you. I'm glad I could get you on.
I enjoy talking with you, Dan. I just wish it wasn't under such grave circumstances.
Trust me. I wish we could be talking under Harris administration and having fun and joking around about things and minorly nitpicking the Harris administration versus like living in a state of existential dread, wondering how we're going to make it out of the year. So, but it is what it is, right?
It is what it is.
It is.
All right, man.
Anyway,
well, thank you so
thanks
much.
everybody for listening to me, and I hope I didn't offend anybody. Anyway, bye.
All right, have a good one. Bye. All right, two more things before we end the show. First and foremost, it's Marie's birthday in the chat, so happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Marie. Happy birthday to you. Anyway, so there you go. And then there is something else that was shared by a friend of mine. I have not been able to fact check all of these. I fact checked the first couple. Apparently somebody else fact checked a bunch of them too. Somebody posted on Blue Sky. Here's some things that Charlie Kirk has said in his life. We could bookend the show with talking about why people are not sitting here mourning the death and why we shouldn't be calling this, the travesty or whatever it is that Chris Hayes called it. Man is dead, so it only seems fair to share his legacy by cataloging the values he spread while alive. Of course, we started talking about his legacy by saying how much he hated empathy and saying how much it's worth it to have gun violence in this country because gun violence allows us to have the Second Amendment, apparently. because, in their limited intelligence, they can't understand how you could, have a Second Amendment while still reducing gun violence to an appropriate level of 0, because you take, appropriate standards and precautions to make sure that, things like this don't happen. But here's some other things that Charlie Kirk has said over the course of his life, according to this post. Gay people should be stoned to death, one of the things he said. Most people are scared when they see a black pilot flying a plane. As if, we need any more evidence that Charlie Kirk was a racist piece of shit. Taylor Swift should reject feminism and submit to her husband. I did see him say that one. That is for a fact. No one should be allowed to retire. Leftists should not be allowed to move to red states. Why would they want to? Only reason I can imagine that leftists moving to red states is if you had like some sort of massive type of system where you have billionaires strategically moving people who are able to move into different states to enable them to be able to win those states electorally. That would be a good use of billionaires' money, I would think. But British colonialism is what made the world decent. The guy who assaulted the Pelosi should be bailed out. We already covered that one as well on the show. Religious freedom should be terminated. I guess only for non-Christians. Multiple black politicians stole white people's spots. Of course, now they're working on stealing it back in Texas. Martin Luther King Jr. was a, quote, awful person. The Great Replacement Theory is reality, which, is not just racist, but also anti-Semitic. He believed that hydroxychloroquine cured COVID or can cure COVID. He said that vaccine requirements are medical apartheid. Gun deaths are acceptable in order to have the Second Amendment. Again, we covered that one as well. A woman's natural place is under their husband's control, which is why he would want Taylor Swift submitting to her husband. Parents should prevent their daughters from taking birth control. Not surprised on that one. George Floyd had it coming, but the January 6th protesters did not. Makes sense. Seems like a thing that he would say. The 1964 Civil Rights Act was a huge mistake, according to Charlie Kirk. Encourage parents to protest mask mandates, which, par for the course. Mamdani winning in New York is a travesty because Muslims did 9/11. Again, going to his bigotry. Muslims only come to America to destabilize Western civilization. Again, more bigotry. Palestine doesn't exist, and those who support it are like the KKK. Fuck you. That's all I got to say about that one. Fuck you. Anyway, yes, he was a horrible man. And vice versa, maggots and right-wingers kooks should not be allowed to move into blue state cities. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? One of my biggest concerns after Hurricane Katrina was that we have 5 councilmanic districts plus 2 at large in the city of New Orleans, and one of them was held by a Republican, and I was concerned that the Republicans would use Katrina as an opportunity to move New Orleans more red. But in reality, and they probably would have loved to have tried, but I think a lot of the people that didn't move back, I guess the regular voters, may very well have been white people who evacuated like either to the North Shore or like who evacuated someplace and just stayed, like Baton Rouge or whatever. So we ended up having all 5 districts on the city council, plus both councilmanic districts at large, ended up both being all being Democratic run. So at least I was wrong on that prediction. I wish I could have been wrong on many more predictions other than that, but at least I was wrong on that one. I was also more novice on my political punditry at that point, so maybe that's why I was a little bit off as well. Anyway, as you can hear, my voice is slowly descending into raspiness. It might be a good time for me to start saying, I see skies of blue. Anyway, I don't want to go too far. I don't want to blow my voice out any more than it already is. But thank y'all very much. If something else big happens, I don't know if we have room for anything big to happen more this week. If something else big happens, I may very well try and go live tomorrow or whenever the next time available is. If something big happens, something else, obviously. If not, I'm going to try and get all of those subjects that I wanted to talk about today. But, if not for Charlie Kirk, I'll try and get to those topics on Monday as well. Remember, help the algorithm out. support the show. Venmo, Liberal Dan and Venmo. Buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com. Click the Buy Me a Cider button. You can be a patron. Patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way gets you there. Subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. Follow over on Twitch. Gift subscriptions on Twitch. Use your Amazon Prime to get you a free subscription over on Twitch. You can buy super chats, super stickers, and gift subscriptions here as well on memberships on YouTube. Help everybody else become a liberal Danimal as well. Aaron just shared the link to the Liberal Dan Radio store where we have two t-shirts, either the algorithm shirt because algorithm needs more rhythm, or the FDT because this is FD in the front, and it's a t-shirt, so it's an FDT. So you can have those two. I'm hoping to have a third one up there soon. I'm working on a fourth. We'll see how long it takes for them to get that all posted and ready to go. Thank you. Wow, Marie, thank you so much. I'm glad I sang you happy birthday now. Thank you so much. Chad, who said he wasn't going to be back or whatever, now is gifted a membership by Marie. So that's funny when I see that happen. But thank you for the 10 gifted Liberal Dan Radio memberships. More people being liberal Danimals because of your generosity. So until next time, thank you all so much. Have a great one. Wish me all the good healing vibes so I can get over this crud more quickly. And as we'll go out as we normally do, listening to more Liberal Dan Radio on Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run D.C. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say right vague. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they child up today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason if Joe's the name is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
coaches, pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no door can see, confirm his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Stop the testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Boxes of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed but the case was dropped, a corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't be. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaotic secret and NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
Gather round everyone and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronting with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the maggot base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, wrote it in the laws. Ink still bleeds, treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect, but they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just state-owned pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.